This was my favorite pick from this incredible Seahawks draft. I've been a Milroe guy since my first draft video over on the Patreon, and I've stuck with that throughout this process. He was my QB2 behind Cam Ward. Getting him at pick 92 is an incredible value in my opinion, and in today's video, I want to explain why I'm so excited about who he could be for the Seahawks. This is always the first thing that people talk about when discussing Milroe because his rushing ability is excellent. I don't think that's talked about enough. He's not just fast, although with his 4.4 flat 40-yard dash at his pro day, he is fast. But Milroe has true rushing skills. That is something that gets overlooked with these quarterbacks, as so much of the focus is on the height, weight, speed guys, and not a lot on their rushing skills. Speed alone doesn't make you an elite rushing quarterback. You don't evaluate running backs just based on their speed, so you shouldn't be evaluating quarterbacks' rushing ability just based on their speed either. You have to look at the bigger picture. The vision, the contact balance, and the lateral agility that Milroe brings is excellent. That is what is going to make him a truly elite rushing quarterback in the NFL from the moment he takes his first snap. Let's look at this play here against LSU. This is a version of quarterback draw. It's a simple play, but is brutally effective because of how the quarterback changes the numbers in the run game. From LSU, they're in a 5-man front, running a simulated pressure to get into cover 3. Like a lot of college defenses, they're not really stacking the box, but they instead have this overhang defender who is keen on the run. You could argue that they only have 5 guys truly in the box, but they have 3 guys just outside of the box, ready to be force players and run and chase. So if this was just a handoff to the running back, there probably wouldn't be a ton of space. He'd get some yards, but this nickel would be waiting for him. But now let's watch this overhang defender. He is keen in on the run. That is his first responsibility, but once he sees that the running back isn't getting the ball, now he turns to play coverage. So instead of a short gain on a handoff, Bama now has Milroe running into the open field with a lead blocker. If we pause it right here, we can see that this has been a good play. This is when most good rushing quarterbacks would be thinking about sliding down and taking the 10-yard gain. And yes, Milroe does need to start learning how to slide in the NFL. He needs to protect himself a little bit better, but from this moment, he's going to gain another 15 yards. And this is what I'm talking about when I say that Milroe has true rushing skills. It's not just his speed, but he has true vision to make this an explosive play. He cuts back, darts behind the corner, and then has the speed to get away from the pursuit defender. Then he smoothly accelerates and jogs it out of bounds for a gain of 23 yards. That is special. That isn't your typical running quarterback. This is different. Let's look at another play which again shows off his special running, this time in a different way. Now, a lot goes wrong on this play. If I had to bet, I would say that this tight end, who, by the way, that is the new Seahawks fullback Robbie Oots, but I think that he should be climbing to the second level for this play. This is a read option, so you generally leave the C-gap defender unblocked and have the quarterback read off of him. Then you have the tight end climb to the overhang defender for the lead block. Now, since everything is going wrong, Milroe just pulls it. He's running downhill between the tackles off of a broken play, and he looks like a running back. He makes the first cut in open space, meets a defender in the hole, and does a quick spin move to make this a gain of 7. This is not typical for even the great rushing quarterbacks. There's a lot of things that make Lamar Jackson the elite runner that he is, but I think the most unique thing about his profile is how comfortable he is when rushing in between the tackles. Usually quarterbacks will be more comfortable out in space and stay away from the traffic in the middle, but that is not true for Lamar. Here's Lamar Jackson back in 2022 against the Bengals. The Ravens are running read option from the gun. At its simplest form, a read option has a dive and a pitch. Now, the pitch doesn't necessarily mean that you're pitching the ball, but it's a reference to the old school triple option offenses. Again, you have one player running downhill and one player stretching the defense out wide. Now, remember, most quarterbacks aren't comfortable rushing in between the tackles, so they are typically the pitch option on a read option, and they're not the dive player. That means that you can only run read option on the side of the back. You can't run it both ways. But Lamar doesn't have to be limited like that. The Ravens read this defensive end, and Lamar keeps it and gets downhill in between the tackles. He shows off his vision and gains 19 on the play. This is the kind of stuff that Milroe can do. He can be the dive player or the pitch player on these read option plays. Similar to Lamar, they're both really crafty in running in confined spaces, and that allows them to take the hits off. Milroe met a guy in the hole, and he didn't get completely blown up. These instincts is what it takes to run in between the tackles. So that's what we have for Milroe. He's not just a fast player, but he has excellent vision in space and the instincts to run in between the tackles. He can truly be a Lamar Jackson type rushing quarterback. He could be one of the best in the league. And this isn't just fun or gimmicky. This rushing ability significantly raises his floor and his ceiling. Lamar was more developed when he came into the league for sure. He was a more accurate passer and had fewer mechanical shortcomings, but his rushing ability is what allowed him to develop. The Ravens were able to run the ball and play good defense and be a winning team, even when Lamar was a below average passer early in his career. And I envision the same role for Milroe. After he develops for a couple of years, if the Seahawks give him his shot, his rushing ability will be far more important than what he brings as a passer. If you want to run a ball control offense where you lead the league in rushing attempts and rushing yards and just play elite defense, that works. That is what got the 49ers to the Super Bowl with Colin Kaepernick. At least as a runner, those are the comparisons that I gravitate towards. He's a Lamar or Kaepernick type runner. Milroe is not just a great rushing quarterback, he's truly special, and to me that is the biggest calling card of his game and the reason why the Seahawks drafted him in the 3rd round. But now let's talk about his passing, because this is where the concerns start to flood in. Milroe has a big arm and a quick release, and he seems to have the tools that you would look for from a passer, but there are significant concerns. The first concern is his processing. Milroe was a read and run quarterback and did not process reads regularly, and when he was asked to, he struggled. This play against South Carolina is just ugly in so many ways. Bama is running a version of Y cross, which is maybe the most popular concept in all of college football. It is good against man and zone and is simple to execute. But Milroe doesn't execute. Let's start with the first problem. Typically, your first read on this concept is the crossing route over the middle of the field, and it is open by NFL standards. It's not wide open, but if you throw this with some anticipation, there is a window there. But okay, he doesn't pull the trigger, and that is understandable for a college quarterback. He'll need to address it when he runs the concept at an NFL level, but that's fine. It's what he does next that is baffling. The entire design of this play is that you read the crosser, and if he's not open, then you can rip it to the dig coming right behind him. The underneath zone defender will be moved by the crossing route, and that should give you an open window for the throw. But instead, Milroe throws it late across the field, and he doesn't see a zone defender, and this is a pick six. Again, it's not just that he didn't see the defender, but he didn't seem to understand how this concept works. This throw isn't really in the progression at this point, and the throw that you should be making on time is open. If you didn't like that, then get to the check down or run, but this is just so bad for so many reasons. Or we could look at this play against Tennessee. Here again, we have a crossing route. This time, Bama is trying to open it up with an underneath route to create that window. The Volunteers are in a quarter Z look, and that is perfect for this concept. Once the receiver clears the linebacker, you should be throwing this into the void in zone coverages. But Milroe is just really late to this throw. It looks like he starts his progression to the top of our screen, which is confusing because the receiver doesn't really finish the route, so I don't know what he was looking at over there, but it makes him late to the crosser. The ball should be out right now with anticipation, but instead he takes 3 quick hops and then gets it out. It is a catch, but the receiver takes a shot he should have never had to take. This processing is concerning. Milroe didn't do it a lot in college, and there needs to be significant strides in the NFL. Early on, the Seahawks are going to have to limit what they ask of him and give him simplified reads. That is the reality of Jalen Milroe as a player early in his career. I have no questions about whether or not he's smart enough to go through the reads and process accurately. That's not the question, but he's just severely underdeveloped in this area, and even if you sit him for a couple of years, it's going to be a learning process. And then there's the accuracy. Milroe is a very inaccurate quarterback. Out of the drafted quarterbacks in this class with 50 or more passing attempts last year, Milroe ranked 11th out of 12 players with just a 72.1 on-target pass rate. The average in this class was over 75%. We're going to start with his misses on RPOs. These are pretty difficult passes as you have to go quickly and it will be off platform. There's plenty of misses, but this is a difficult throw that Kubiak's system won't feature as much as Bama did. It's of course not great to see, but I'm not going to dwell on them too much. But the truly concerning accuracy is the in-rhythm, on-time misses. Here against Georgia, the Crimson Tide are actually running a pretty cool concept. The Seahawks ran some similar concepts last year, but the general idea is that you use a post route to clear out space, and then you have the tight end chip and release up the seam. It's a really cool concept, and Milroe is getting this ball out on time. But he just misses. This ball needs to be delivered to the tight end on his upfield shoulder to allow him to continue to rip up the seam and set him up for yards after the catch. Instead, the pass is low and to the wrong shoulder. The tight end isn't able to corral the ball, he gets hit, and this ends up being an interception. This is just a pass that an NFL quarterback can't miss. And this was the norm. Again, Milroe had just a 72.1% on-target pass rate. I've watched 8 games of film on this guy, and there are just so many examples of appalling accuracy issues. Now, to me, it's pretty clear why Milroe struggled so much with delivering an accurate football. His base and his footwork when he throws is all over the place. He doesn't align his feet to where he's throwing, and he often throws with just his arm without using the rest of his body. When you watch any NFL quarterback, here I'll show some Darnold film, but they always stride towards their target and work to align their hips. This is probably one of the most egregious misses from Milroe. When he goes to throw this, his hips are not even close to on target, and that means that he doesn't rotate as much as he should be for this throw. That forces him to compensate more with his arm, which means that this is a highly inaccurate pass. Milroe's lower body throwing mechanics need to be built from the ground up. I do think that will fix a lot of his accuracy issues because right now, nothing in how he throws a football is consistent, so it does make sense that he can't consistently deliver an accurate throw. I'm not saying that this is easy or a guaranteed fix in any way, but it is possible, and the fact that he's going to be able to sit and develop to fix this issue is huge. And I want to end this segment by talking about the positives for Milroe as a passer right now. The consensus is that he just can't throw, and that's not true. This pass against Georgia is an excellent example of touch and pinpoint accuracy. I would also like to point out that on this throw, his hips are aligned to his target, and he generates more power from his base than on any throw I've seen on tape. So yes, sometimes he accidentally used proper mechanics, and this is what you're going for when you're developing Milroe. He also had some flashes of good pocket presence. It's not consistent, and again, he was mostly a read and run quarterback, but I think with more experience, Milroe can maneuver the pocket at an NFL level. The upside that Jalen Milroe has is rare to find in the late third round. His legs are elite, and while he does need a lot of development in his accuracy and his processing, he has a big arm and some highlights in play extension. Pair that with his excellent reports of leadership and work ethic, and how do you not believe that this guy has a chance to develop into a franchise quarterback? And while he develops, Mike Macdonald has already talked about how they're going to use him as a sub-package quarterback, presumably in short yardage and goal line situations where his rushing ability can be maximized. And that's going to be really important to this team. If Milroe just converts one high leverage short yardage situation per game, that can be worth this pick. And that is why this is an A+ grade for me. This is my favorite pick in this draft. If you want the Seahawks to have an elite quarterback that turns them into a perennial Super Bowl contender, then these are the chances you're going to have to take. The Seahawks aren't getting a top 5 pick anytime soon, so if you want your shot at an elite quarterback, you have to take a lot of risk. I agree it's kind of a long shot that Milroe ever reaches his upside, but the investment is low. And again, his use as a sub-package player means that this chance is just not that risky. He's going to be useful at the bare minimum, and he could be a franchise-changing player if he hits his upside. Getting that in the late 3rd round is a tremendous value. Subscribe for more Seahawks film breakdowns. I have a really fun schedule planned for the offseason, and we have a lot more rookies to get through. Let me know in the comments if you want to see Arroyo or Eamon Warry next. Thank you so much for watching, and go Hawks.